And hello again, wrestling fans. I am here with episode number 2 of This Week in History. Hopefully you enjoyed our other incarnations of it as part of the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast, and you were part of episode number 1, which was last week. But we're going to keep on going because there's a lot of history to look into. So hopefully you're tuning in on Facebook or YouTube, or listening to us later on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcasts from. Be sure to like and subscribe and help build this podcast up. We're also going to introduce some game show aspects of it monthly. Jonesy and I were just talking about that, and hopefully you'll have some more details as it goes along. But we can't do this episode without Jonesy from Niagara Falls. Jonesy,
good day.
There you are. How are you?
I'm not too bad. It's actually been a nice day here, nice and sunny, not too cold.
Just getting through the holiday season as Ontario, or for the most part, all of Ontario is in lockdown, some for less time than others. But yeah, not much to do in this area. So why not sit back, listen to a podcast, or create a podcast like we're doing right now? So, yeah, we're just going to dive right in. And if you want to start us off, we can head down memory lane, starting with December 25th.
All right, here we go. December 25th, 35 years ago, Rocky Balboa pulled off a Christmas miracle when he beat Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. There were not many who gave the Italian stallion a chance of victory, but by the end of the Christmas Day bout, chants of Rocky, Rocky could be heard around the arena in Moscow. First presented on Christmas night in 2003. Sorry, you were going to cut me?
Yeah, no, I was when you sent me this list and included Rocky on it, I laughed at first and thought, okay, no, let's put that in, because if you can change, then we all can change. And it was a good moment as Rocky got his brains mushed in, and his kid is at home in the United States with his buddies and the robot going, "That's my dad." So,
I mean,
good holiday movie.
To me, it's a part of also wrestling because, of course, Hogan and Rocky III and Sylvester, of course, I think he inducted somebody into the Hall of Fame.
And Mr. T.
Is that Hogan or Mr. T? There you go. So, Mr. T. So it's just one of those things where why not put that in for shits and giggles? Doesn't have to all be wrestling. First presented on Christmas night in 2003, 17 years ago today, WWE's Tribute to the Troops is an annual show presented around Christmas as a thank you to the servicemen and servicewomen around the world. The show, the brainchild of JBL, which is probably one of the only good things he did, was presented in its first few years from Iraq before moving stateside in 2010, where the shows remain ever since. President George W. Bush and Barack Obama have made appearances on the show through a pre-recorded message. The show has received awards from the USO and other military departments.
Yeah, I remember that show, unfortunately, a little too fun, as I had sat there wondering why I was even watching the show. Not on a bad thing that it was on, but my grandfather was in the hospital. So as soon as that show finished, I ended up going to the hospital that night and spent time with my grandmother as he passed away. So I always remember Tribute to the Troops that night on Christmas Eve, and watching it and then heading out.
Well, we all have certain things that we've watched that reminds us of something else. So there you go, another wrestling connection to a big part in someone's life. And moving on, we got 33 years ago on Christmas Day in Texas, WCWA presented Christmas Day Massacre. The main event was WCWA champion Al Perez versus Kerry Von Erich in a steel cage match with Gary Hart handcuffed to Fritz. The show was remembered for Fritz kayfabing a seizure and collapsing onto the floor and being rushed to the hospital after being attacked by a group of goons led by Terry Gordy. The Dallas area media reported this as a top story, not realizing at the time that it was a work. 32 years ago, a huge cleanup was underway in Century City, Los Angeles, after a terrorist group led by Hans Gruber was foiled by John McClane, a Detroit police officer who was an attendee at the annual Nakatomi Corp Christmas party at the newly constructed Nakatomi Tower. And it's a happy 35th to Rusev or Miro for you 8 AEW fans. So moving on to December 26th, 60 years ago today, George Raymond Wagner, best known to fans as the legendary Gorgeous George, dies of a heart attack he had suffered 2 days prior in Hollywood, California. He was 48. Born March 24th, 1915 in Butte, Nebraska, he dropped out of high school at the age of 14 and began working odd jobs to support his family. One of those jobs was competing in wrestling matches at carnivals. His days of training at the local YMCA began to pay off. By age 17, he was getting bookings for Morris Segal, the top promoter in the Houston area at the time. Champions would eventually come as well, winning middleweight and lightweight heavyweight championships by his 24th birthday. In 1941, George began his glamour boy gimmick, wearing capes and robes and exhibit oh my God, I can't say that word right now. I know what it is. Exaggerated, that's it. Holy crap balls. Effeminate behavior. Crowds didn't like it too much, not one bit. Yet they would turn out in droves to see him. Quote from George, "Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat." George's television debut on November 11th, 1947 was named by Entertainment Weekly as one of the 100 biggest television acts of the 20th century. George would be a big star in the television early days as comedians Lucille Ball, Bob Hope, and Merton Burrow. By the 50s, George Starr was so huge, he would command 50% of the gate for events he appeared in, often making over $100,000 a year, just under $1 million to today's standards. In 1962, he was defeated by young Bruno Sammartino. Later in the year, he lost his hair against the Destroyer in a mask versus hair match. It would turn out to be his final bout, as his hard living had caught up with his body. George was twice divorced and was diagnosed with liver disease from his excessive alcoholism. Many would credit George's showmanship as a part of their own careers, including Muhammad Ali, James Brown, Bob Dylan, Little Richard, Liberace, Elton John, and Morris Day. Of course, many wrestlers were inspired by George in some way, including Buddy Rogers, Adrian Street, superstar Billy Graham, Ric Flair, and Goldust. George would be a member of the inaugural classes of the Wrestling Observer newsletter and Professional Wrestling Halls of Fame in 1996 and 2002, respectively. As well as a member of the WWE Hall of Fame in 2010, his first wife, Betty, 97 at the time, would induct him. Betty died in 2011. George and Betty had 2 adopted children from his first marriage and 1 son and 3 stepchildren from his second wife, Sherry, who died in 2000. He also had 1 child from a long-time mistress and 1 great-nephew, Robert Kellum, who wrestled as Gorgeous George III and briefly as the Maestro in WCW. The Maestro kind of seems cool now. What do you think about the Maestro now?
Well, he kind of was very much like his relative, Gorgeous George. I know I remember him being paired up with Alicia Webb, who was Ryan Shamrock. And while getting pictures for this, wanted to make sure that we did not confuse that Gorgeous George with this Gorgeous George that accompanied Randy Macho Man Savage to the ring. Totally different people. Both wands, mind you, but definitely not the same. Different impact on the wrestling business.
If I'm in the right mood, I take either one.
There you go.
All right, moving on now. 37 years ago today in New York City, the Iron Sheik defeated Bob Backlund via Arnold Skelland. Backlund's manager threw in the towel while Bob was trapped in the camel clutch submission hold. The Sheik would end Backlund's over a decade championship run. 32 years ago today, WCW presented Starrcade 88 True Grit. This is the first time Starrcade would be held around the Christmas holiday. The first 4 were on Thanksgiving. This is also the first pay-per-view presented under the WCW name with new owner Ted Turner. We saw Kevin Sullivan and Steve Williams defeat the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers, to win the NWA United States Tag Team Championship. The Midnight Express, Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane, defeated the original Midnight Express, Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose. Rick Steiner defeated Mike Rotundo to win the NWA World Television Championship, and Ric Flair defeated Lex Luger to retain the NWA World Heavyweight belt.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was listening to Jim Cornette's podcast, The Drive-Thru, and they were actually talking about that feud with the Midnight Express against the original Midnight Express and all the craziness going on backstage with Dusty getting the boot from booking and WCW coming in to ownership with TBS, and TBS people didn't know actually what they were doing. It was just a cluster of people not knowing what was going on, and you're surprised at all that WCW ended up failing almost 20 years later and 20 years ago. Yeah, unbelievable how a company can be mismanaged that way.
But, somehow they stayed afloat for years. In a way, I guess we all have Ted Turner to thank for that. If it wasn't for Ted Turner, in his deep pockets, wrestling would have been set back by a few years, only because there wouldn't have been that competition that would up the other guy's game. So, hey, bless Ted Turner.
Unfortunately, all the backstage stuff going on with Ted Turner's companies merging and stuff like that, and people not liking wrestling definitely didn't help where creative was failing. They totally lost any outlet, and Bischoff couldn't rescue it in the end. And we're now 20 years later without a WCW.
Pardon me. All right, so we're on to 16 years ago today. Ring of Honor presented Final Battle 04, that is. CM Punk and Steve Corino defeated Generation Next, Alex Shelley and Roderick Strong. Brian Danielson defeated Loki by DQ, and Austin Aries defeated Samoa Joe to win the ROH World Championship. The win by Aries ended Samoa Joe's 645-day reign as Ring of Honor's top man. The record still stands today, as far as I know. That was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago that info was. All right, moving on. 16 years ago. Oh, excellent. 16 years ago today, Reginald Howard White, or simply Reggie White, to football and wrestling fans, dies in a hospital because of an irregular heartbeat. He was 43. This NFL legend has a wrestling connection. White was a member of Lawrence Taylor's All-Pro entourage during WrestleMania 11 against Bam Bam Bigelow. At Slamboree over WCW 1997, White had his only professional wrestling match, a loss to fellow NFL alumnus Steve McMichael.
How embarrassing.
Oh, good Lord. 11 years.
If you have a loss to Steve McMichael, that's pretty bad booking, because that guy has his own way of botching things. Definitely look it up on YouTube. There's even, I think even a Twitter account dedicated to Botchamania version of Steve Mongo McMichael. Just horrible. Some of the things we had to endure with him.
Yeah, but you know what? I kind of semi liked him only because he was like a big goof. He was like a big goof who liked wrestling. He wasn't that bad on commentating, really. I mean, he wasn't great, but he wasn't, like Lord Alfred Hayes, just like, oh God.
And he too was a part of the entourage, I believe, with Lawrence Taylor at WrestleMania 11.
Who was that? Lord Alfred Hayes?
No, McMichael.
Oh, Okay, come on in then.
Mongo was a part of that group as well. And then he ended up getting to WCW, started off with commentating, holding the Chihuahua. And then somehow his wife got in there. And, well, we saw what happened when she got bigger than her husband and then left him for Steve Austin and everything else that happened after that.
All right. My cat has come into the room, so there we go, buddy. So 11 years ago today, WWE signs Shawn Snuka and George, I would imagine it is, Eras, Sharon's daughter of WWE Hall of Famer Jimmy Superfly Snuka, works as Tamina, while George, who briefly went by Unico, works as Sin Cara. December 27th, 37 years ago today, at a Wrestling at the Chase taping in St. Louis, Missouri, Hulk Hogan made his first return to the World Wrestling Federation with a win over Bill Dixon. Hogan had left the WWF in 1980 to film a small role in Rocky III. He went to the American Wrestling Association, where he would rise to national and international prominence, especially after the film's release in '82. Hogan would be the centerpiece of the WWF's expansion from regional territory to national promotion. Also debuting for the WWF during that same taping would be AWA's longtime interviewer, Gene Okerlund. Okerlund would be the WWF's main interview until leaving for those bastards over at WCW in 1993. I mean, he did fit over there quite well. I think Mean Gene is one that really a lot of people don't give enough credit to. Not just Hogan going over there, him going over there gave them big time legitimacy.
More credibility was given with Gene Okerlund. He had a lot of know-how backstage as well, and hugely respected as a interviewer. And then, he was one of the innovators also of the hotlines. And that's why WWE parodied him with Scheme Gene when they were doing the Nacho Man and the Huckster. Like, if he didn't mean anything, I'm sure Scheme Gene would not have existed in those vignettes either.
Mm-hmm. So moving on, we got 33 years ago today in Las Vegas, Nevada, Greg Gagne defeated Adrian Adonis in a tournament final to become the first AWA International Television Champion. 33 years ago today in Tokyo, Japan, Antonio Inoki defeated Riki Choshu via disqualification. After the bout, Takeiki Tano introduced the newest member of his Takeshi Peruso Gundam stable, Vader, a.k.a. Leon White. Vader would destroy Inoki in 3 minutes shortly after his debut. This was a huge deal as Inoki rarely lost. Riot ensued and NJPW was banned from running events in Sumo Hall until 1989. Comedian and actor Takeshi Kitano, a.k.a. Beat Takeshi, the man behind Takeshi's Challenge, often regarded as one of the worst video games of all time, introduced the newest member of his Takahashi Purusuro Gundam stable, Leon White, a.k.a. Big Band Vader. The gimmick is based on Japanese folklore. Vader had fought off attackers on his village for 3 days straight. That Vader, man. A couple of side nuggets. Leon White wasn't the first choice for the Vader gimmick. That was Sid Vicious. He wasn't their second choice either. That was Jim Hellwig, a.k.a., of course, the Ultimate Warrior. Leon was actually set to debut for New Japan rival All Japan Pro Wrestling, but All Japan owner Giant Baba traded away his contract just before debuting for them. Vader wasn't the only debut at the show. Hiroshi Haas made his junior heavyweight title. Oh, I just don't know. Vader wasn't the only. Yeah, there you go. Hiroshi Haas made his New Japan debut earlier in that show and won the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship from Kanaki Kobayashi. Oh my. Haas would go on to legendary career, winning the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title twice and the IWGP Tag title 4 times, as well as serving as chairman of the PWF. Phew, thank God that's over.
Yeah,
31 years.
I look back at that, what you sent, and to know that Sid Vicious could have been Vader, but then Warrior could have been Vader as well. Like, where that would have gone to for any of their careers compared to what did happen. Like, it's the same comparison that people wonder, what if Sting had gone to WWE and Blade Runner Rock, aka Warrior, had gone to NWA, WCW first? What would have happened with their career paths? Just to know that those little shifting things changed so much history.
I think Sting would be a bigger star, and I think James Hellwig would have just been a jobber in the end. He might have had a run, but I mean,
Yeah, and even
Warrior's luck. Warrior had the WCW wasn't doing that type of cartoony character, so I don't think it would have evolved. That Warrior gimmick would have gone to someone else.
Yeah, he definitely had.
Who I heard originally was going to take the Warrior gimmick was going to be One Man Gang. Can you imagine him running down the?
Somehow, I think that's part of kayfabe news.
That could be kayfabe news. All right. 31 years ago today, WWF presented No Holds Barred, the movie, The Match, on pay-per-view. The match was a SummerSlam rematch of Hogan and Beefcake versus the Macho King and the Gangsta. Check that, Zeus in the blue cage. 27 years ago today, WCW presented Starrcade 93, the 10th anniversary. The Shockmaster defeated King Kong. Rick Rude defeated the Boss to return the WCW International World Heavyweight Championship. Steve Austin defeated Dustin Rhodes 2-0 in a best-of-3 falls match to win the WCW United States Championship. Ric Flair defeated Big Van Vader to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Had Flair lost, he would have been forced to retire. Originally, Sid Vicious was the opponent lined up for Vader, but he was involved in a stabby incident with Arn Anderson and was fired 2 months before the event.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to look at the fact that, No Holds Barred, the match, the movie. Yeah, definitely one of Tiny Lister's greatest moments. Can only say, and thankfully was covered up by people like Macho Man and everybody for that matter. If you listen to one of the latest Something to Wrestle With, Bruce Pritchard, him and Conrad are actually doing a watch along with the movie. I think they might even do the match. They put it out on Christmas Day, and the movie is available on Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch the movie along with Conrad and Bruce. And I'm not sure, like I said, if they got into the match part, because I'm still listening to it. I actually want to sit down and go back to the beginning and watch it along with Bruce and Conrad. And then when you look at WCW's Starrcade 93, that was actually one of the first Starrcades I had ever seen. And it was interesting and unique how they did the whole thing with Mean Gene at the home of Ric Flair, getting ready and riding in the limousine to the arena and getting ready for the whole thing. You see a young David Flair. You see Reed, obviously very young. You see a young Ashley Flair, which is Charlotte. And you also get to see Megan Flair, who's Conrad Thompson's wife, all in that same show. So just seeing the behind the scenes at Starrcade 93 at the Flair house and knowing where these characters, or these children, should I say, ended up going to from that time on, I think they did end up making it to the arena. You also see Ashley and all them at the WrestleMania with Flair's retirement with Shawn Michaels. I believe that was at WrestleMania 24. And yeah, just to see the progression. And unfortunately, Reed is no longer with us. David Flair had quite the wrestling career. I guess the highlight of that was definitely hooking up with Stacy Keibler. And of course, we now know where Ashley, aka Charlotte, is. And of course, Megan still in there. So a lot of good things out of 93 Starrcade beyond what they presented, which was a really good show.
All right. There we go. 25 years ago today, WCW presented Starrcade 95. World Cup of Wrestling featuring 7 WCW stars taking on 7 of New Japan Pro Wrestling's best. And this was best out of 7. Of course, it went all 7. The New Japan wrestlers were Liger, Koji Kam M. Otom, Can M. Otom. I really can't pronounce that. That's pathetic. I even have it.
Tommy?
Anyways, yeah, Kotami, that's it. Masahiro Chono, got a cursor over there. Sato, Shinjiro Otani, Tenzan, and Kensuke Sasaki. Sting, which was WCW, defeated Kensei Sasaki, winning the World Cup of Wrestling for WCW. The other matches on the card included Ric Flair defeating Lex Luger and Sting by countout to become the #1 contender for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And then Ric Flair defeated Randy Savage to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. In a post-dark match, Kensuke Sasaki defeated the one-man gang to retain the WCW United States Championship. This match was taped and edited for WCW Saturday Night. The full match had a dusty finish of Gang winning the belt, but the match was restarted due to technicality and ended with Sasaki winning the belt. Here's an example of what you can do with editing. This match edited out the restart of the match, so Gang was the official winner on WCW TV. WCW sometimes knew what they were doing. I kind of found it very interesting. They took a match that had a dusty finish, so it had 2 separate endings basically, and then they edited out part of it, and so the crowd got one finish, but the TV crowd got another. I thought that was, that's kind of cool booking.
Very unique. So yeah, if we can go back just a slight bit to 26 years ago, WCW presented Starrcade 94.
Yeah. Oh, did I miss 94? How did I miss that?
That's all good.
Oh, well.
I was rambling about 93.
Oh, maybe that's why. 26 years ago today, WCW presented Starrcade 94. Bader defeated Hacksaw Jim Duggan to win the WCW United States Championship. Alex Wright defeated John Paul Levesque. Johnny B. Bad defeated Arn Anderson to retain the WCW World Television Championship. Originally, Honky Tonk Man was supposed to face Johnny, but Honky was fired by WCW following a dispute with management prior to the event. Basically, Honky did not want to lose to Johnny. And a side note, Eric Bischoff, in his book Controversy Creates Cash, vowed never to use Honky Tonk Man ever again, and he never did. And then firing him was his favorite thing. Yep.
Sorry. He said numerous times on 83 Weeks that if he could fire Honky Tonk Man again, he would do it in a heartbeat. That's how much hate he has for Wayne Ferris.
I don't have that much hate for Honky. I kind of like Honky. So we're moving on then to 22 years ago today, WCW presents Starrcade 98. Conan defeated Chris Jericho to retain the WCW Television Championship. Eric Bischoff defeated Ric Flair. Dallas Page defeated the Giant. Kevin Nash defeated the cattle-prodded Goldberg in a no DQ match to win the WCW World Belt. The win ended Goldberg's undefeated run in WCW at just over 15 months in 173 matches, give or take a few made-up ones. 15 years ago today, at a SmackDown taping, Eminem, Joey Mercury, and Johnny Nitro defeated Batista and Rey Mysterio to win the WWE Tag Belts. It's the third time the duo won the tag titles in 2005. 12 years ago today, Ring of Honor presented Final Battle. Kenny Omega defeated Claudio Castagnoli. Jerry Lynn defeated Chris Hero, Necro Butcher, and Reed Titus in a four-corner survival match. Austin Aries defeated Tyler Black to become the #1 contender for the ROH World Championship. And Nigel McGuinness defeated Naomichi Mafuji to retain the ROH World Championship. And it's a happy 33rd birthday for Andrew Andy Levine. Levine was the winner of the 2011 Tough Enough Series. Shortly after reporting to FCW, he was suspended for violating the WWE's wellness policy and was released 10 months into his Tough Enough win. He did wrestle for Puerto Rico-based World Wrestling Council, where he briefly held the WWC Universal Heavyweight Championship in 2012. And the WWC Tag Team Championship with Samson Walker in 2013. He is also a cousin of Dan Spivey. And it's a happy 40th birthday for Claudio Castagnoli, best known these days as Cesaro. The Swiss-born Castagnoli is one of the more accomplished tag team wrestlers of the 21st century, including he, along with Sheamus, ended the New Day's record WWE tag title reign and claimed their first championship as a duo. He also had some signal success, winning the Westside Extreme Wrestling Unified World Wrestling Championship in 2003 and 4, the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla World Championship in 2010, the WWE United States Championship in 2012, and the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal for winning a 30-man Battle Royal at WrestleMania 30. And today would have been the... Go ahead.
Yeah, Cesaro is so underrated. Like, all those accomplishments, and unfortunately, he seems to be regulated more as a tag team wrestler in WWE than anything else. I would love to see him get a break and go back to singles and climb up there and a main event something. It doesn't have to necessarily be WrestleMania, but it could be anything that gets him away from the tag team scene, because that's, like, as I said, he seems to be pigeonholed into it.
All right, and is happy. Oh, I already did that one. Today would have been the 51st birthday for Joan Marie Lawler, best known to wrestling fans as Chyna. Lawler made a bit of history in her wrestling life, being the only woman to win the WWF IC belt, the only woman to qualify for the King of the Ring tournament, and was the first woman to enter the Royal Rumble. On April 20th, 2016, Lawler was found dead in her home in Redondo Beach, California. She was 46. At the time of her death, she had been taking medication for anxiety and insomnia. Her manager claimed that her death was due to an accidental overdose. Lawler was cremated and her ashes scattered in the Pacific Ocean. It's a happy 54th birthday for William Bill Scott Goldberg. Woo! Goldberg, an animal welfare advocate and vintage car collector, and is married to Wanda Farrington, a stunt double he met while filming Santa's Sleigh. And if you want to see a really great movie, don't see that. The couple had been married for 11 years and has one son, Gage. It's a happy 57th birthday for Michael Pochlevik, better known as the Murdy Jannetty of the Smoking Guns. That's right, folks, Bart Gunn. Bart would hold the WWF tag belts 3 times with the Smoking Guns and briefly held the NWA World Tag Belt as the rebooted Midnight Express with Bombastic Bob. He, of course, won the ill-fated Brawl for All and then got squished by Butterbean at WrestleMania 14. He made one last in-ring appearance at Raw's 15th anniversary in 2007. He is a grandfather, electrician, and avid Star Wars fan. All right. Moving on to December.
Also, the 30th birthday of Zelena Vega. She recently is done with WWE, but you can also catch her on Twitch, which why she left WWE, so she can make money doing cosplay.
I know what else she could make money doing that. 28 years ago today, we're on December 28th, WCW presented Starrcade 92 Battle Bowl. Names were drawn at random to form tag teams, and the winning teams advanced to the Battle Bowl Battle Royal at the end of the show. We saw Sting defeat Big Van Vader to win the King of Cable tournament. Ron Simmons defeated Steve Williams by DQ to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Mashiro Chono defeated the Great Muta to retain the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And the Great Muta last eliminated Barry Windham to win the Battle Bowl Battle Royal. 23 years ago today, WCW presented Starrcade 97. It's the most bought event in WCW history. This would be Sting's first in-ring action in 15 months. Diamond Dallas Page defeated Kurt Hennig to win the WCW United States Championship. We saw Larry Zbyszko get back in the ring and defeat Eric Bischoff by DQ to retain Monday Nitro for WCW. Bret Hart was the special guest referee. And Sting defeated Hollywood Hogan by submission to win the WCW World Belt. Hogan had originally won the title with a badly executed fast count, but Bret Hart, who was acting as a referee, restarted the match. Sting would hook on the Scorpion Deathlock, and Hogan submitted. And everyone in WCW rejoiced. 22 years ago today on Nitro, Ric Flair defeated Eric Bischoff in a return match from the previous night's Starrcade to become WCW president for 90 days. Had Flair lost, he would have been forced to retire again for the umpteenth time. So really, there was no downfall to this match. On the same show, Scott Steiner defeated Conan to win the WCW World Television Championship. 21 years ago today, at a SmackDown taping, Chris Jericho and Chyna went to a double pinfall for the WWF IC belt. They did the two referees counted their shoulders down for the 3-count bit. Today, the co-intercontinental title reign of Chyna and Jericho is not recognized by the WWE. It is considered vacant at the time. 18 years ago today, Ring of Honor presented Final Battle. CM Punk defeated Colt Cabana. Special K Deranged and Angel Dust defeated the Backseat Boys, Trent Acid and Johnny Cashmere. And the Hit Squad, Mafia and Monster Mac in a tag team scramble match. Who cares about the match? It was just fun to say all those names. Xavier defeated Paul London to retain the ROH Championship. Bryan Danielson, Low-Key, and Samoa Joe and Steve Corino fought to a 45-minute draw to determine the number one contender for their ROH Championship. I'd be pissed as a fan, so I just watched an amazing match that ended up not giving me a number one contender. That was the point of the match. That's the worse than a double pin in a cage match or something like that. 11 years ago today on Raw, Vince McMahon officially announces Bret Hart would guest host the January 4th, 2010 Raw. And it's a happy 35th birthday for Nicole Terrell. The New Orleans-born Terrell was among the final 8 of the 2007 WWE Diva Search, but finished 4th. She made her debut 4 months later as Tiffany, the on-screen assistant general manager under Theodore Long for the rebooted ECW, then eventually became the brand's general manager. When ECW was dissolved in 2010, Tiffany would be moved to SmackDown. She and Kelly, the Blonde Barrage, feuded with Lay Cool until domestic incident with her then-husband Drew McIntyre got her suspended from the company that summer. Terrell would be released in November. She debuted for TNA as the vice president of the Knockouts division under Brooke Hogan. She also served as the division's referee. Terrell is married to professional motorcyclist and stuntman Joseph Dryden. The couple have one girl, 22-month-old Emerson, and a second child. Info from 2016, and I don't care enough to Google the baby update. Who knows? They might have more. It's a happy 67th birthday for pursuit. No, that's one of those words. What's that word? Pursuit. I'm not saying it right. Legend Tatsumi Fujinami, Sue or Sudo or something like that. Anyways, wrestling since the age of 17, Fujinami's wrestling around the world included for Mexico's University Wrestling Association, Jim Crockett Promotions, and the WWF in the States, where he won their junior heavyweight championship in 78. And most famously for the New Japan Pro Wrestling from its founding in 72 to 2006. He would become the first man to hold both the IWGP Heavyweight Championship as well as the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. It is during the reign he had his most remembered match, a championship versus champion bout with the WCW World Champion Ric Flair at the first Super Brawl in 91. In 2016, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by Ric Flair. He has a Legends contract with WWE. The contract does not restrict his Japanese bookings. The innovator of the Dragon Sleeper and Dragon Suplex, he is nicknamed the Dragon, is well decorated, including his 6 IWGP heavyweight titles. He is a 5-time IWGP Tag Team Champion, 4 of them with Kengo Kamura, and an NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight Champion. And WWF International Heavyweight and Tag Team Champion, a 4-time Tokyo Sports Magazine Outstanding Performance winner, the magazine's 1985 MVP, and so many more awards. Tatsumi is married with 1 son, Leona, who wrestles for his father's Tradition promotion. Moving on to December 29th. 35 years ago today, the NWA and AWA co-presented Star Wars. Little Tokyo defeated Cowboy Lang to retain the NWA World's Midget Championship. Sherry Martel defeated Debbie Combs to retain the AWA World Women's Championship. And Stan Hansen defeated Rick Martel by submission to win the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. 29 years ago today, WCW presented Starrcade Battle Bowl 91, the Lethal Lottery. Steve Austin eliminated Lex Luger to win the Battle Royal. 25 years ago, ECW presented Holiday Hell for the Lost Battalion Halls in Queens, New York. We saw Mikey Whipwreck defeat Two Cold Scorpio to win the ECW World Tag Team Championship and ECW World Television Championships. Following the bout, Whipwreck chose Cactus Jack as his tag team partner. The Sandman defeated Raven to retain the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, and Sabu defeated Cactus Jack. 24 years ago today, WCW presented Starrcade 96. Ultimo Dragon defeated Dean Malenko to unify the WCW Cruiserweight and J-Crown Championships. Kiro Hakuto defeated Medusa to win the WCW Women's Championship. She would be the only one recognized as the champion, even though Devil Masami won the vacant belt and the AAAW Single Championship in 97 versus Women's Wrestler Zero. Her 100-day reign was not recognized on WCW TV. Eddie Guerrero defeated Diamond Dallas Page to win the vacant WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. And Roddy Piper defeated Hollywood Hogan via TKO.
Do not go back and watch that. Whatever you do, if you really want to see a Starrcade, stop it before you get to Piper Hogan. I'm a fan of Piper, but oh my God, just know Hogan has had the worst luck with matches at Starrcade. When you consider his match with Sting, Stinker, the Butcher, aka Beefcake, Piper, Warrior, just no. Hogan was not a good draw, or at least maybe a draw to get people to watch. But once they got their eyeballs on it, they wanted to bleach them from watching those horrible main events.
I think it was just, Hogan was living on his legend and the fact that people like to see him as a bad guy. But the match itself was never good.
No.
Oh, right. 23 years ago today on Nitro, Ultimo Dragon defeated Eddie Guerrero to win the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. On the same show, Booker T defeated Disco Inferno to win the WCW World Television Championship. 22 years ago at a Raw's War taping, Mankind defeated The Rock to win the WWF Championship. This match indeed did put butts in the seat. Nitro tried to take advantage of Raw being pre-taped, but revealing the competition's title change was one of the moves that put WWE back on top of the Monday Night Wars.
Big mistake.
Years ago, yeah, it was a big mistake. But, at the time when you're riding high and you're told what to do, it's one of those things in history that's fun that it worked out that way, and it's just funny. It's like it's written, which it could have been, but even in the make-believe world of wrestling, a lot of it is actually happens. It's real stuff. Maybe not, the drop kicks and shit like that, but the real stuff that's going on is sometimes more interesting than what's going on in the ring.
Yep.
11 years ago today, Dr. Death Steve Williams dies of throat cancer at St. Anthony Central Hospital in Denver, Colorado. He was 49. Steve would become one of the most successful Gaijins, foreign wrestlers, in Japanese wrestling history during his run in All Japan Pro Wrestling, winning their Triple Crown heavyweight title, 8 tag team championships with 4 different partners, 5 of the 8 with Terry Gordy, and win the World's Strongest Tag Determination League in 90, 91, and 2000. Williams also won their annual Karukian Hall Heavyweight Battle Royal in 95 and 2000, and has many more accolades. At the time of his passing, he was survived by his son Wyndham and his 2 brothers Jeff and Jerry. 8 years ago today at a Raw taping, Ray Barrett defeated Kofi Kingston to win the WWE IC belt. 6 years ago today on Raw from Washington, D.C., the Usos Jimmy and Jay defeated The Miz and Damien Mizdow to win the WWE Tag Team Championship. All right, moving on to December 30th. 23 years ago today at a Raw's War taping, Jeff Jarrett defeated Barry Windham to win the NWA North American Heavyweight Championship. The episode, airing January 5th, would be most remembered for Stone Cold Steve Austin's infamous Stunner Barrage, attacking anyone who was considered a threat to win the Royal Rumble much later in the month. 22 years ago today, longtime promoter Sam Muchnick died after a car accident. He was 93. Sam was a wrestling promoter who at one time was the NWA president. Just a year before his death, Muchnick made one of his last major public appearances at the WWF Bad Blood In Your House pay-per-view. 20 years ago today in California, Christopher Daniels defeated Donovan Morgan to win All Pro Wrestling's King of the Indies tournament. 17 years ago today, at a SmackDown, Rey Mysterio defeated Tajiri to win the WWE Cruiserweight belt. And 13 years ago today, Ring of Honor presented Final Battle from the Manhattan Center in New York City. The Hangman 3, Adam Pearce, Brent Albright, and BJ Whitmer defeated Delirious, Kevin Steen, and El Generico in a tables are illegal match. Eric Stevens defeated Roderick Strong to win the FIP World Heavyweight Championship. And the Age of the Fall, Jimmy Jacobs and Taylor Black defeated the Briscoe brothers, Jay and Mark Briscoe, to win the ROH World Tag Team Championship. Moving on to the final day here, December 31st, almost a new year. 10 years ago today, ZZW star Nick Gage, real name Nicholas Wilson, turns himself in one day after New Jersey authorities announced he was arrested for robbing a PNC bank in Collingswood, New Jersey on December 22nd. He was homeless and addicted to Oxycontin and painkillers at the time of the robbery. He got $3,000 after handing the lady teller a special note. Gage and his girlfriend would then go to Atlantic City and gamble. Gage got 5 years for second-degree robbery. And 10 years ago today, Brock Lesnar announces his retirement from MMA just one day after his loss to Alistair Overeem via TKO at UFC 141. The belt was Lesnar's first since overcoming diverticulitis 14 months earlier, an ailment that nearly killed Lesnar. Lesnar made a one-time return at UFC 200 in July 2016 with a loss due to failing 2 drug tests. And that is your week in history.
Yeah, a lot of different events going on, especially Starrcade and, of course, Ring of Honor with Final Battles. I personally loved Battle Bowl. I wish they'd continue something like that, but at the same time, we have the Royal Rumble, which is obviously better. But if you're looking for some sort of filler event where you get some tag team matches and then a Battle Royal, definitely look at Battle Bowl, but I doubt it would ever appear on a main roster WWE. I never know if Triple H will bring it out for NXT or not, but yeah, I love Battle Bowl. A lot of good people with birthdays, and we'll see what the new year brings us as we move forward. So thank you once again for taking us on this tour of history, and yeah, we'll see what's next week. There's a lot of stuff coming up for podcasts with Scumbags Wrestling, or their the regular podcast as we look at the passing of Brody Lee and of Danny Hodge. There's also a year review we're working on. Hopefully that'll be out in the next day or two. And of course, yeah, we're going to get back in the month of January with some Fantasy Warfare tournament, and all month long is the mid-card champions, NWA, WCW, WWE US champions, WWF and WWE Intercontinental champions. So we'll got 64 competing. A couple of them are in there twice, like Miz, Greg Valentine, Dustin Rhodes. I don't think anybody else got a second appearance, but we have all that coming up. Tune in on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and also Facebook. So anything you want to say to people before we get out of here, Jonesy?
Those who do listen to this, if you want to participate in the end of the month trivia or the beginning of the month, it depends. I'd rather do it at the end, I think. Just let us know in the comment that you would like to be a part of that show, which would be just connected to one of these. Yes. Basically Jeopardy style, or I might change it to something else. I'm not sure yet. Let me know. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, we're always open to ideas, and we want to be interactive. So definitely let us know what you're interested in, and contact us on our Facebook page or email scumbagswrestling@gmail.com. We're always available. Also check out the wrestling trivia group page that you have.
Yes, which I don't update far enough, but now I got this going. Maybe we'll update it more often.
Yeah, and then if you're interested in being a part of a trivia show, we would love to have you. And let's see what fun can be had. So until next time, I want to wish everybody a happy New Year, and we'll see you in January.
Shoot us.